Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Madison, and today we're going to be learning the beginnings of special effects. I always get questions asking like, how did you get into special effects? How do you do it? What products do you use? So I'm going to do a breakdown of just some things to start off with, and then using those techniques to create this look. I will give you options throughout the video. I will only be using one of the options, obviously, because I'm doing that one. But it's all the same concept within the different styles that you use, but this is just kind of a overall beginner tip of how to create a bruise and some minor cuts. So buckle up, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do when you start doing special effects is learning a little bit about anatomy, knowing how the bones sit and how the muscles run inside of the body. For bruising, they're not going to be on the high points of your face, they're going to be in the low areas, like underneath your eye, not on your brow bone. It's going to be in your temples, right where it dips in, underneath your cheekbone, under your jaw, and where the muscles are in your neck. There isn't going to be a big bruise on the center of your cheekbone or on your chin or in the middle of your forehead because the blood won't pool. It'll be more on the sides of your face where it dips down. Bruises also differ upon the age and the skin tone. The beginning of the bruise cycle stage starts off with a very red color, and then it moves on to a dark purple color, and then near the end of the bruise cycle, normally lasting around a week, goes to a more yellow-greenish color when the blood finally oxidizes and starts to heal, then becoming this brownish color and then fading away. Here's some examples of when I first started, where I didn't fully understand anatomy, where it doesn't look as realistic and the colors are a little off, to more recently where I figured out coloring as well as placement, which in my opinion looks a lot better. Obviously the photo quality is better, but you understand. I suggest eyeshadow for beginner special effects makeup artists. You're going to want to stick to more darker shades than the brighter shades, but you can get a palette for cheap and have all the colors you need. The next tier would be a special effects grease or cream paint. Don't mind me not having it, but they come out with different wheels that you can use to achieve the makeups, and they're really nice, but you do need to blend them out quite a bit for them to look realistic. Moving on to my personal favorite, which is alcohol activated paint. You're going to need 99% alcohol to activate them, but they create this beautiful translucency that makes it actually look like it's underneath the skin. I found these glazing gels from Skin Illustrator. They're really cool. They give you the translucency of an alcohol activated paint but in a gel form. Let's swatch them side by side. The first one was the gel, and then a alcohol activated paint, then a eyeshadow, then moving on to a lipstick or a cream paint. And you can see the differences between the opacity of all the colors. Seeing them side by side, you can note that the professional products have more of a translucency that gives the appearance of it under the skin, which the cream and the eyeshadow does not do. You just have to work a little harder with those products, but you can achieve the same look. Begin with an out-of-kit building materials. Starting off with the one that everyone seems to know, nose and scar wax. I don't have it, so don't mind that. This material does not dry, so it is easier for some beginners. But one of the downsides, and the reason why I don't like it, it is very sticky and it can be difficult to work with. I suggest adding lotion or a Vaseline to your fingertips and the tools that you're working with so it doesn't stick to them, and you need to add a binder to the skin like a latex or a spirit gum to adhere it. It also does not sit well on any part of the body that moves. If you're wearing it for a long period of time, I honestly don't suggest it, because it'll just fall off. Here's some examples of when I first started with nose and scar wax, and then me getting a little bit more advanced. More recently, I use Cinewax, which is just a different brand, but I find it to be less sticky than your traditional nose and scar wax for the skull, and then I use silicone for the rest of the cuts. Moving on to latex. Do watch out for this one because people can be allergic to latex, so always do a test strip before you apply this onto your face. To make cuts, you add latex to a cotton ball of toilet paper to create that wound. It takes a little bit to dry, but after it's dry, it is set, and then you powder, and then you would move on to painting it. But just like the scar wax, it doesn't really move, so don't put it on a high moving area because again, it will just kind of fall off. Always suggest adding latex with a disposable item, like a makeup wedge, a Q-tip, anything like that. If you add it to your brush, it will ruin your brush and you can never get that brush back, as well as your hair. If you get it in any hair like your eyebrows or your normal hair, it will rip it out. My eyebrows have been through it. So if you're going to put it over your eyebrows, please glue them down. Here's some examples of some latex wounds that I've created over the years. If you are allergic to latex, another great alternative is gelatin. I do have a recipe on how to make it, but after you make it, you put it into the microwave for 10-second intervals until it gets nice and warm and gooey, and then you apply it to the skin that way, making sure it is not too hot. You do not actually want to burn yourself. Moving on to the most expensive, but my favorite way to create cuts and stuff like that. This is a silicone compound. This brand is 3rd Degree. There are many brands, but it is a part A and a part B system. You mix part A and part B together, equal parts, and then you would apply it to the face. And never cross-contaminate your silicone. You're going to want to use a different spatula, different wooden stick, whatever you're using to mix them. But make sure you're using a different side or wipe it off completely before you put it back into the other part, because once you do that, you ruin the whole thing. But the beauty with silicone, it adds a translucent effect so it looks more skin-like because your skin isn't a solid color. There's different textures and different colors underneath. I also suggest having a stipple sponge and a powder nearby just to add some skin texture as well as cutting down some of the shine that the silicone has. It takes 5 minutes to cure, so it is a small working time, but it looks the most realistic in my opinion. Now you have a general idea, let's begin the makeup. Starting off with the old and faithful makeup wedge, but I am taking small little holes out of the sponge so it creates a very uneven texture to create some of the bruising. I did forget to press record, but I'm taking a red color from my alcohol activated paints and I'm applying that in the places that we talked about before, those low areas of the face. With the sponge having all those holes in it, it creates a very uneven texture. Just like when you get redness on the skin, it isn't solid, so it just kind of mimics that. Continuing to add color and darkening some areas and making other areas very light to create that variation in skin texture. But I tried to concentrate the colors within the eye area because that's where I believe the blood would pool the most. Now moving on to an age blood color and a brush, and I'm just applying a small amount of that darkest color in that concentrated areas from before. And again, just adding it to different places just to create that uneven effect. And be very careful using alcohol activated paints near your eyes, making sure to give yourself breaks and closing your eyes when you need it, not to get that alcohol in your eye because that will be not fun. Now I'm adding a bruise tone, which is a purple red shade, and darkening those areas further. Taking a makeup wedge with the holes in it and a light amount of alcohol, I'm just diluting the whole bruise just to give that more of that translucent under the skin feel. In a trick, more alcohol means the lighter the color will be, and less alcohol the deeper the tone will be. So have that in mind when you're doing this. Now that I'm done with the bruise, let's move on to cuts. This is how you create cuts without any prosthetics. Use a red tone and you just create the cut shape. Cuts are always going to be biggest in the center and obviously very thin at the edge. I prefer using a dark red shade, but you can use a lighter red if you choose. And then, after you mapped it out, you're going to add a concealer or a light color on the outsides, just to trick the eye to think that that red color is actually deeper. Make sure to blend out the edges of the concealer, just to give that whole optical illusion look. Something I always suggest is coming up with a backstory behind your special effects makeup, or even looking at reference photos, which is always better, because you don't want to have something that wouldn't make sense. For me, I believed I got in a fight and they punched me on the cheekbone, which caused the bruise, as well as they were maybe wearing a ring and it cut my eyebrow, as well as maybe broke my nose and it broke the skin. Now I'm aging my bruise by adding a little bit of yellow so it looks like it's a little older than a fresh bruise. We're creating a 3D wound. I'm taking a double-ended spatula and my silicone, and I'm going to take equal parts of A and B and mix it on a mixing palette. Grabbing a little log shape with my spatula, I'm going to apply that to the nose area, if I can actually do that, and then making sure to blend out the edges as much as I can with the spatula. Adding another log shape on the other side of the cut to create the other side of the cut, and then blending out the edges as well. I'm blending out the edges and keeping that center where that cut would be the tallest, so I can carve it out with the spatula later to create that indent. Now taking a clean spatula, and I'm just creating a line in the center of the cut using the outline that I did previously as a guide. Now that the silicone is 80% dry, I'm taking a stipple sponge just to create some skin texture so it isn't as shiny and it actually looks like it's my skin. I highly suggest this step around the nose because you do have a lot of pores there, well at least I do, so adding this just adds a little bit more realism to the look. After you're happy with your cut, you're going to wait until it's fully set so you can paint. Going back in with that aged blood color in the cut that I just created. I use a lot of alcohol on the brush so it's more translucent, so it'll more just like melt into that cut. And then using a paper towel just to blend it out further. Now that you've finished with your wounds and your whole makeup, you can add a little bit of fake blood, but you never want to cover up all the things that you just did, because what was the point of spending all that time on that work? So I always suggest a little bit of fake blood goes a long way. Some different techniques would be spackling, which I use a chip brush and just spray that on the face, as well as the more precise with a brush. For this look, I'm using the brush because I don't feel like there would be a lot of spattering upon my face. So I'm just taking a little bit of that blood into the cut, and then I dry it up with a paper towel just so it kind of looks like it's more aged than a fresh bleeding cut. Now I'm adding some blood to the nose because it kind of looks like I broke my nose, so my nose would actually bleed in theory. So I'm just adding a little bit of blood to the nose, and then again going in with the paper towel just to dry up some of the blood, just to create a very messy look. And you could be done here, but I like to take it just a step farther. This is Mouth FX. It is a mouth safe paint. This one is in a blood tone, but you see all this makeup and then I have these really white teeth. Alright, they're not that white, but adding a little bit of blood to them would make them look more realistic to this look. So you shake it up and then you add a drop to your mouth. But this is my set, so I can just drop it straight into my mouth. If you're using this on other people, I highly suggest a more sanitary measure for that. This lasts about 5 minutes, and then after you brush your teeth, it all goes away. And there you go. That is my mini Special Effects 101 class. There's so much more that I know, and I would love to tell you guys. If you'd like to see more, please let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see more from me. All my other social media links will be linked down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!